please welcome former NGA President and former MD of Shell Nigeria Gas and currently the Coordinating Director, Decade of Gas Secretariat, Mr. Ed Ubong, for his presentation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please permit me to stand on existing protocols, recognizing the governors of Bayelsa, Rivers, Cross River, who are still in the room, and of course, the governor of Akwa Ibom State, who I'm sure there will be a representative when he comes back. And of course, Ibom MM1, the Honorable Minister of State, Petroleum Resources, Gas, the man who is driving the current gas revolution on behalf of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. Of course, our host, GSCN, its MDs, its board, and the indefatigable EVP, NMPCL Gas and Power, my brother, Lekon Gunleye. Excellent. I think what we wanted to do today was just give a little bit of a review around what's happening in the South-South. Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Rivers, and Edo. In Cross River, there are two big gas industries. Unisem, producing cement, consuming close to 50 million scf of gas a day. Also in Calabar, there is flour mills. They could use a lot of gas, but they are not connected yet to the gas network. In Akwa Ibom today, we just have one pipeline, taking gas not to Akwa Ibom, but taking the gas all the way to Cross River. That gas pipeline is being run by Aku Gas and Savannah Energy. In Rivers State, a gas master plan has already been signed. There is gas distribution going on in Rivers State. If you went on the Trans-Amadi corridor, you'll see a lot of industries. There's also some on the ports around NPA area. Shell Nigeria Gas is also building gas to industries along the Aba-Port Harcourt Road. In Bayelsa, there is no local gas distribution. Bayelsa's pride is in the Baranubie plant, which is the largest single gas processing facility in Nigeria, providing the bulk of gas that is exported via LNG and in Bonny. In Edo State, we have the headquarters for NMPC's exploration arm. They are pace-setters when it comes to transport and mobility with gas. EVP mentioned something about setting up the first lines that started to use gas for automobiles. This is the combined summary of the South-South. We have a lot of gas resources. Today, we own 90% of the resources when it comes to gas. When you talk about oil and gas, that reduces a little bit to about 80%. EVP Gas and Power asks the question, are we then ready to do more with the rich gas resources that we currently have? I'll run through a few slides and raise a few questions. The experts that will answer them will probably come up in the various panel sessions. First situation is that in 2021, it was clear to industry players that if we do not do something dramatic, by 2030, Nigeria will have a shortfall of close to 3 BCF a day in gas supply when you match supply and demand. The president declared a decade of gas. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2023 went further. A secretariat was properly set up. By September, we had our first Minister of Gas. These are concerted efforts leading to a particular outcome. And you will begin to see the outcome as we step through the slides. On the next slide, if you are going to solve the gas problem, you need to look at it from end to end. You need to ask yourself the question, who will take the gas? Who will supply the gas? How will the gas move from the supplier to the off-taker? We're talking there about the infrastructure. In Nigeria, there are two critical areas that require focused attention. One area is solving the gas to power value chain. The other area is ensuring that Nigerians have cooking gas that is affordable and available. Of course, at the bottom, cutting across all those pillars is the fact that you must have the right price for gas. Whether you are a supplier, whether you are a transporter, whether you are a consumer. You must also begin now to build the capacity. Who is going to implement Akwa Ibom's gas master plan? GSCN MD. We need to start training those people today. What is the supply situation? One more slide. One more. Today, at the federal level and working with all the critical stakeholders, 20 gas supply projects have been identified that together would increase Nigeria's gas production by over 50%. The GCO spoke about being given a target to take gas production to about 12.5 BCF a day. So this is where those numbers come from a supply side. If you look onshore, those projects are either in the south-south or in the southeast. Whether it is Ohaji South, Utapate, which is down the road, Asa North, which is in Imo State, Brass Fertilizer, which is in Rivers, Ukonimo, Iseni, Obeta, Obagi. These are all projects that sit in the south-south and in the southeast. If you look at the shallow offshore, it is the same story. If you look at the deep water, a lot of those FPSOs will be floating around the coast of Rivers, Bayelsa, Akwa Ibom. And to some extent, some are a little bit closer to Delta. It is clear what needs to be done. We need to take FID. These projects alone imply an investment of about $30 billion over the life cycle of the project. Most importantly, if you then look at the chart on the right, from 2021, what you will notice there is how Nigeria's gas production kept reducing. Until 2023, when we had a Minister of State for Gas, there was renewed focus on fixing these issues. What you then begin to see is that there has been a gradual increase in our gas production up to 2025, January to May 2025. Maybe most dramatic also, and worth flagging, is that for the first time in Nigeria's history, we have crossed 2 billion cubic feet of gas per day in the domestic market. It has never happened. It has never happened. So this is fantastic work. GSCN, NNPCL, the operators, and of course, Ubong MM1, who has been going after EVP in a peaceful market, or in a peaceful manner. But this is the story. One, I hope, paints a picture of hope, that if we continue to work together in a collaborative manner, like EVP always says, we may be able to fix the problems in the gas sector. In 2020, NNPC pulled the industry together and said, but what is the real demand? How much gas is being looked for across the country? So on the next slide, you would see this picture. Working together the view was that by 2030, we needed to consume about 23 to 26 BCF of gas per day. Most importantly, we want to consume more gas than we export. So if you look at this chart, you would see that the domestic consumption of gas in Nigeria moves to slightly about 60%, while export reduces to about 40%. That is important because when we consume gas locally, we create a lot more jobs. We also create a lot more revenues within the states where these plants are placed. You can see cement, petrochemicals, methanol, fertilizer, industrial gas. Most importantly, that domestic growth would be driven mainly by power. And I hope there will be a conversation about power today. We must fix the power sector because it is the power sector that will provide Nigerians with the much needed electricity that they require. Our belief is that that electricity solution would come from an increase in thermal production, thermal generation, and also distribution. I can see the MD of NBET here. So I'm very excited he's in the room, and also the representatives of NEC. We must fix the power sector together to ensure that Nigerians get the benefits that they need from gas. This is the demand scenario. As of today, from the first work the consultants have moved, this has moved from about 26 BCF to about 30. We're just going to finalize that piece of work and run it by the minister at the end of the month. The demand keeps growing. Projects want more gas, so we do need to move quickly. Where then is the infrastructure that would ensure that gas supply will get to the people that require the gas? What connects demand and supply physically is infrastructure. One more slide. What you see here, still on the demand, are the 40 prioritized projects that account for about 6 BCF a day, half of that 2030 projection. What is peculiar about that chart is that those 40 prioritized projects, as you can see on that map, are hovering around the south-south and the southeast. GBIs, commercial projects, a couple of export projects, mainly FLNG, and additional 2 trains. What then is the number behind these 40 projects? To deliver these 40 projects, we will require $103 billion. These 40 projects would create 4 million jobs, the equivalent of a population in a whole state in the South-South. These 40 projects would also ensure that Nigeria's GDP grows by another $50 billion. We must get this right if Nigeria needs to move forward. The South-South must get this right if it must be able to create the credible jobs for its teeming and growing population. On the infrastructure slide, one more slide. One more. This is the gas master plan, which attempts to connect most parts of Nigeria with gas. As you can see, it runs all the way up. To deliver this gas master plan from just the pipeline perspective, we need to spend $22 billion. What then is the picture for the South-South? So if you went, one more slide, you went to the South-South, there are 6 critical gas infrastructure projects that need to be delivered. First, for Ibom, we need to take gas from QIT and be able to put it back on the network. There's a line that needs to move from an offshore terminal, gas line number 6, get to QIT. EVP has confirmed that he has already bought all the pipes. So I hope that can be delivered very quickly, EVP upstream. But most importantly, a line needs to leave QIT and get back to the gas network at Ibom. That's the QIT Ibom line. Another line needs to connect QIT to Mohia to ensure that there is another supply line getting into the southeast. And of course, we need to do a connection between Cotton Channel and Ibom. These are the critical lines that we need to build from an infrastructure perspective to close the loop from a gas supply and demand perspective. There is another part that the Honorable Minister is very passionate about, and that is how do we ensure that women, the less privileged in our homes, are able to use cooking gas. I see the NMDPRA director here. It's a critical part. One more slide as I move from infrastructure to what we call economic principles. This is the price of cooking gas in May 2025. For a region that produces over 90% of Nigeria's gas, for a region that would account for over half of the demand between now and 2030, a 5-kilogram LPG cylinder is most expensive in Delta State. Ladies and gentlemen, something is not quite right. And the HM called me last week. He said, Ed, what is going on? Where is the answer? We do not have an answer yet, but we are working around the clock to understand what could be going on. That's for a 12.5 kilogram cylinder, most expensive in Delta. One more slide. That's a 5 kilogram cylinder. The numbers move a little bit again. You realize that it is still within the south. Now, between Abia, Ebonyi, and Rivers State, you are still paying the highest amount to refill gas that is within the same region where it is being produced, where it is being supplied via LNG supplies gas from Boni straight into Port Harcourt via Rumuolemeni. So why are the prices so sticky in the south and southeast? We don't have an answer, and on the 28th or 29th, we would convene a workshop sitting with the industry to begin to try to answer the Honorable Minister's questions. He's very keen to solve this problem. And in the next slide, you will see some of the initiatives that have been sort of raised. One more slide. One more slide. So the Honorable Minister has now sort of agreed to ensure that we move at least 5 million homes to cleaner cooking by 2030, mainly by providing the critical capital infrastructure, which is gas cylinders, to women in rural homes. He has also passed a couple of ministerial directives that would ensure that we try to domesticate as much of the cooking gas that we produce in country. In addition, I think we must always look at the solutions from one end to the other. Who is ready to take the gas? Today, Ibom has confirmed that they are ready. Bayelsa has confirmed they are ready. Cross River has confirmed they are ready. Rivers is ever ready. Who will bring the gas to the surface? Is the investors in this room. I see the likes of Seplat. I see the likes of Renaissance. I see NMPCL. They have to ensure that that gas is supplied. Together, we must build infrastructure, both private sector and government. GSCN will play a critical role in connecting that demand and supply. It is only when we work together that we'll be able to solve, first, Nigeria's most critical problem, ensuring that we have electricity for most of our homes 24/7. Second, that there is cooking gas that is available and affordable. Thirdly, that there are industries, petrochemical plants, manufacturing companies that provide Nigerians that the jobs they need via gas. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Ed Ubong. Speaking there as the coordinating director for the Decade of Gas Secretariat.